Hey y'all, Bearder Bros Golf Show. Um, all right, let me get my shit together. I'm gonna get zonked for cussing. Bearder Bros Golf Show. I'm Rod.
I'm Marcus.
Thanks Andy and thanks Bobby. Happy Father's Day to you guys too. We're still waiting on Marcus to find somebody to procreate with. So
I need
he's
me a
he's
golf cart.
he's not in the dance club yet. So U.S. Open ending on Father's Day, man. I will be honest. I was into this U.S. Open. I think more than I've been the other two majors so far this year. Just in terms
Definitely.
of just the intrigue around the course, the kind of carnage, right? And then seeing who could actually conquer these greens at Pinehurst. Course looking super baked out. I don't think there's an in between on whether you like the course or you don't. I love it. I know Andy, you're
Yep.
in North Carolina, if I remember correctly. It looks North Carolina to me, at least from what I've experienced in my life. What did you think about the course setup, and how much eyes did you have on the tournament this week?
Man, from Thursday on, I was watching as much as I could. We had the coverage on. Let's see, Thursday I was off. I played golf super early, came back and watched pretty much laid in bed or laid on the couch and watched golf the rest of the day. Friday, woke up, tried to catch as much coverage as I could. I mean, this is just like what you said. I swear, this is the most vested I was in a major in such a long time. I mean, the coverage was great. I felt like sometimes there were too many people in the booth, which is fine. It's okay. I'm
Yeah.
not really unopposed to it because nobody really said anything stupid or out of pocket. But
You know people were hating on Brando being in the booth. You know
they
people were
were
just upset.
they were he still had a little bit of critical thoughts on him, but for the most part, Brando kept it in line. He kept it high and tight. Very respectable. So kudos to him. I mean, you can't deny the golf knowledge. You can't deny, the historian in him. So that's definitely always going to be a good look for him. And kudos to NBC for having him on. Mike Tirico did a good job. Um, Brad Faxon had a very unique kind of input. Probably more vested than anybody in there because his boy Rory was on there. But
Yeah.
I enjoyed the course. I enjoyed the course setup. Again, it's a U.S. Open. It's a major, so if you're not on your P's and Q's, then you're going to get penalized, and that's what really laid it out the whole week. You had to put it on a platter. You had to put it on that plate, and it wasn't always a dinner size plate. Sometimes it was just an appetizer, but you had to you,
Right.
you had to do it. You had to be
Yeah.
able to, if you weren't long
Take
enough, you had to go ahead.
take a drink every time they said effective size of the green. Effective. I was like, dude, stop saying effective. We get
Right.
it. The greens are smaller than they present. We get it. Bunch of false fronts,
Absolutely.
fall offs. But yeah, keep going.
But even then, the greens were still manageable. I mean, these guys put on 12s and 13s on the tour all the time. So that's not an excuse. I mean, these guys have wedges in their hands a lot of these holes. That's not an
It's true.
excuse.
It's truly they. It was trying to force you to play very standard. The fairways were wide,
Yeah.
so if you ended up outside of the fairway, that's on you, and then you would be penalized by having to fight with that wire grass. But they were telling you hit the middle of the greens, put to the corners.
Yeah.
That's really the strategy. There wasn't, you couldn't count on rolling it up on those false fronts. So a lot of people, even Rory coming down the stretch trying to get it up on that. I think it was number 10. Tried to get it up on the front, coming in with the 5 iron, wasn't able to get the kick forward that he needed to hold that green. It was fair. It was challenging but fair.
Yep. Agreed.
So it makes me want to book a trip to Pinehurst just to experience that. It's actually pretty accessible of a course, and just
Right.
something that it would be fun to play that's outside of what we
The
see.
usual.
This course was a Parkland course in the past, and they've really revamped it. It looks even different than it did 10 years ago. To me, a little more rugged than it even was then, which it had made the transformation from 1999 and 2004, I believe. So really, just a different look, and this is now going to be in that staple of courses for the U.S. Open and the USGA, along with Pebble Beach as well as Oakmont. So I like it. I like them having the staple courses. They've received a lot of criticism regarding some of these kind of out of the box courses. People hated LA Country Club last year. I liked it. I
Right.
had no problems with that club last
A,
year.
a
It was an
U.S. Open
interesting
course.
play. Yeah, I had no problems with it, but I think people want kind of the standard look and whatever. If you saw Mark Calcavelcia of the, he's a major winner, but on the senior tour now, he's like Pinehurst is not that great. I think he was in the minority with that. I think the
Right.
majority of people like the change up. So that's it on the course, man. Like I said, enjoyable. I don't know why, but it was just something that um, had a lot more intrigue about it than the others this year. So you're not going to bury the lead. Bryson DeChambeau get his second U.S. Open, first, I think since 2020. What was his other major? PGA Championship?
No, it was a U.S. Open too. It was wasn't it 2019 he won?
That was 2020, but he's only won two U.S. Opens. I'm sorry. I hate being underprepared, but it was Father's Day. I had a good time with my family, and I'm not going to apologize for that. But yeah, he won in 2020, and that's it too. I don't know why I thought he had another one in there.
Oh
He was
no.
very close. He was close down the stretch. I forget what year that was, but he was in a playoff. Um, but anyway, so his second major, won it down the stretch. Super clutch on 18 to get up and down. Super clutch. He
Yeah,
was in a bad
that
spot off
bunker
the
shot was
tee.
unreal.
It really was. Um, I I'll save it for the end. We'll keep it square. The post show later on, we can get into some more pointed, But I'm gonna give him his flowers, right? He had to go
Yeah,
get a par to go win the tournament after Rory missed his par putt on 18, bogeyed three out of the last four holes coming down the stretch where he did, which opened the gate. I mean, he played good enough all day to have this thing. Had a
yeah,
two-shot lead going down the back half, and essentially, handed it back to Bryson, and Bryson just had to stick in there, and again shoot a one over, and pull out the championship. So kudos to him for doing that. You at that point you're kind of playing match play.
yeah.
When you see what the person in front of you did or you're tied up with. So hand claps to him. He performed in the PGA Championship. What do you think about his week at Pinehurst?
Yeah, I mean, just another step, just another notch on the belt of the redemption tour for Bryson. I mean, we've discussed this before. I mean, just out
Yeah,
of the blue, just becoming way more likable. No clue what has happened, what has changed. I feel like somebody has alleviated some stress off of him or something. Maybe it was internal, maybe it was something, outside. I mean, in his circle. But again,
yeah,
glad he's done the work and glad and it's not even feel it's not feeling like it's forced like it would from Inside Trader. It's not just these very glassy teeth cheeses. The head nods are legit. The awkward wrist bump that he does with the fans on the little
right.
processions to the next one. That's always something. That's a tangent that I'll wait to get onto, but that's something that always trips me out. Golfers
Sticking
do not
sticking
have
behind
fobs together. Yeah, golfers
no,
do not have
st-
that together.
sticking behind to sign autographs and interact with fans. That takes effort. I'll
It
give him
does.
credit for doing that. You really do have to be genuine in those moments, and people will feel if you're full of crap. Um,
Right.
so while I still, to a certain degree, think that he's slightly awkward as a human being, you can just tell he's a little less uptight, and
Yeah,
able to open up, and it's for his benefit. I mean, he has captured a certain demographic with his YouTube stuff, so he kind of plays in the same lane that a good, those guys that do a lot of the, I
right.
wouldn't call it competitive, the contest golf on YouTube. So he has had that market cornered for quite some time. People love
Yeah,
watching that. It's, that type of entertainment. But I think it's been the more kind of older fans that he's, gotten away from. So now he's kind of capturing those guys and gals back. And like you said, we've been saying in the background, it's the redemption tour. This didn't
yeah,
just start this year. This is something that he's been focusing on, and whether that's the passing of his father, um, maybe just the ability to have more free time and not playing as heavy a schedule, playing with Liv. Who knows? Like you said, you
yeah,
never really know, or a combination of all of the above that has kind of gotten him to this point. I will say, call out to his caddy, who's, I think his company that he's founded was called a company called Evergreen. They do like golf simulator golf, up in the Pacific Northwest, has contributed to a lot of his maturity. I've seen a lot of people giving him a ton of credit for partnering up with Bryson and kind of being an adult in the room, hopefully just guiding him along. So hopefully that
yeah,
partnership continues to stick around. But again, he's put in the work, and I think that's when we've talked about Live. It seemed very much like people that went over there hadn't gotten better because they're not playing as much golf, and it becomes on you to practice and put in the work behind the scenes to uphold that and keep your skills sharp, which he seemed to have done. And he's also figured out the equipment deal. Um,
yeah,
we've talked about this a while ago. Those irons, we talked about the 3D printed irons a while ago, um, but kind of resurfaced this week, talking about the numbers on the clubs. So, like his
yeah.
5 iron essentially plays like a 3 or a 2 iron. These are some really super strong lofted.
Super
Um,
strong.
I saw that his essentially 9 iron was a 35, 36 degree, which is, kind of traditional 7 iron. So, what do you think about the club selection and how he's kind of narrowed
Yeah,
that down? Crank, long drive, driver.
I was gonna say in continuation with the fanship of Bryson is if you're any kind of golf enthusiast or any kind of just golf historian, the way Bryson has gone about, making his bag first with the same length clubs, starting that with Cobra. We all know and have documented the fallout with him and Cobra, which is still very
Mhm.
sad because he just should have, again, in his own mind, he should have just be quiet to just help himself out. But
In
you
public,
just don't want
correct.
to exactly. You don't want to burn those bridges because although you're able to, continue to grow and progress and get different clubs, there's nothing like having a big corporation of money behind you. You're telling me this couldn't have been expedited if you didn't still have that partnership with Cobra Puma? I'm pretty sure they would have been on board with helping you progress the game and and essentially stretch the limits of what you can and cannot do with a club face and everything like that. And it just
Yeah.
recently came out, Rod, that his face is bowed and
On the
from the
irons.
middle out. It's the
Yeah.
wildest thing. But when you play the game the way he plays it, it makes sense. Like it makes sense how it reacts to how he swings and the swing path that he has and everything like that. I mean, the guy is
Yeah.
as neutral gets and still just bangs out this draw. It's
Right. Well, because I think to a certain degree, I think part of the Boeing, and he kind of talked about this. He was walking with Johnson Wagner, and they were talking about the Boeing, the
mm-hmm,
kind of the bulge in the face, and he was saying that on off-center hits, he doesn't want to exacerbate. Usually, for amateurs, a lot of our help is on the kind of perimeter
perimeter.
of the club, toe, heel, for off center strikes. So for him, that was causing way too much overcorrection. So if he hit it on the toe, which is his tendency as a drawer of the ball, ended up overdrawing it. And
Yeah.
so by moving that kind of face the way it is, cool. He's forgiven on the center strikes, but he's not overly punished when he hits it off of the toe. But like you
Yeah.
said, he's super neutral, neutral grip. I did see one thing that was interesting, and I don't know if it'll catch traction or what, but it was about his putter, and the person commenting on it, and it just wasn't big enough of a thing, but definitely noticeable after I saw it was that essentially the rules dictate that a putter has to have about 10 degrees of shaft lean on it. I think this kind of came from kind of the old side saddle putting days and kind
Right.
of facing the hole is that his putter doesn't seem to have much in terms of loft coming out of the shaft and into his hands. It seems pretty damn straight up and down. And I don't know if, some amateur rules official is going to, call out this on the next major, which we only have one left at this point. But it was a very interesting thing when it comes to his equipment, right? We know him
Hmm.
as the tinkerer, the scientist, but all of these things are definitely unique to him. Hell, even before today's round, with him cracking or essentially flattening the face of his driver on the range and having to go to the backup driver before the round, that's tough, man. And
Yeah.
again, this is a driver built for his speed, but rewinding all the way back to what you said, I do wish he had stuck with Cobra, kind of as a that's honestly when it kind of comes full circle, the way that Greg Norman made a shit ton of money in his career off the course was with Cobra early on and kind of getting some early stock and being able to cash that in. Really kind of benefited him financially. That could have been a really likely scenario with Bryson. He introduced kind
Could
of
have
the
been a
one length
springboard.
irons. Absolutely. The one length irons to them. They're now doing the 3D printed irons as well. So,
Hmm.
yeah, a missed opportunity to kind of foster that relationship. Now he's got kind of his own thing going on, and I don't know if he has any relationship with this company other than they're helping him achieve his stuff. But yeah, man, shout out to him, man. I do hope that he continues the redemption arc and kind of reverses the bad will that really that's kind of we went over there thinking when he left for live, like good riddance, douchebag. But it seems like he
Right.
separated himself from that reputation at this stage.
Definitely. I mean, we can't. It goes without saying, but if you watch any of the coverage today, you know what happened. And although Bryson, had some clutch, he had three clutch pars in a row. We all saw what happened, and Rory just didn't have it. I mean, I don't think he's been in that again. He hasn't really put himself in that situation since last U.S.
Right.
Open at LACC, but that's not an excuse anymore for Rory. Unfortunately, it's not. I mean, you're a four-time major winner, and we've pretty much gotten rid of that Achilles heel of just the the misnomer of him being a bad putter. We've seen how consistent he can be. For him to miss these 3 foot putts, mm,
Right.
just
Yeah.
a bad
That,
look. A
that
bad look.
it's tough. So it's
The
interesting. I'm gonna pull
forced
up
lip out
something.
on that par three, and
Yeah.
then I mean, just not committing on 18. All you got to do is hit that left or right, or just go straight at the hole. I mean, Smiley Kaufman, no, although he's not playing professionally anymore, bro said it right then and there. It's like you play it left edge and you let it slide in there, or you play it hard and firm. Pause. But like
Yeah.
you can't be indecisive. As soon as he hit the putt, you saw him the knees wobbled. Uh,
Yeah.
mm,
So here's a quick little video, kind of screenshots because a lot of the U.S. Open footage is not publicly accessible as of yet. So here's what we got. It's the miss. Little stat. Let me pause this right here. So Rory McIlroy was 496 for 496 putting inside 3 feet this season before that miss. That's
just
pressure.
major.
That's
Yeah,
that's
that's just major
that's
pressure, and he just yammed it through the break. I mean, lordy. This was
Yeah. And a few years ago when we saw him with the ripped shirt, he was
yeah.
he wasn't far off from that. That look on that face, he's going to be having nightmares of this for quite some time. And this is afterwards. Declined an interview. Didn't talk to press, of course. And he had a gaggle of folks. You can see some writers kind of waiting in the parking lot to catch
All
the
right,
Irish.
bro.
Rory's like,
Rory,
I'm out.
please. Rory, please. Why did you burn the tires out? You made it
Yeah.
worse.
He's
The little
been,
scuttle
how
was all
that
he
feels,
needed.
though.
Oh yeah.
So,
Oh yeah.
it's
He was in the
conspiracy
locker
theory
room.
stuff. Check this out. I just want to pull up something on Google about the tournament and see if you can tell what's happening or what's missing. Let's see if this will. Yeah, here it is. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
What's missing? What's weird?
Oh, that hurts. Why
Why
they do that,
is
man,
Go-
like that?
Why is Google excluding all the live folks from the list? This is Google
Right.
now. This is weird, but I was like, Rory won. Where
Wow.
where are the live guys? Super weird. Um,
Wow.
it's like excluding. I guess it's just simulated because it doesn't throw live in the results, as you can see here. But I just found that super interesting. Anyhow, man, yeah, Rory's going to be feeling the pain for that one for a while, and we've had this conversation before in the past. People either thrive and grow from this, or they fall down and they
Yeah.
struggle to mentally get that back. Even people who don't like Rory, I think call out to Hank Haney, who has been very critical of anything PGA related. Even Rory McIlroy, when he was standing up for the PGA Tour, said Rory is honestly the best, one of the best. But
Yeah.
this is that you see the talent shining through. He's top 10 week in, week out. But when it comes to closing the deal, this is what we've talked about. And this
Yeah.
is the closest he's been in quite some time where it's been tangible. I know the Open was also close last year, but damn, we're Rory fans over here. It sucks to see him go out that way versus forcing the playoff,
Yeah.
putting pressure on Bryson. Who knows if Rory keeps it tied? What happens to Bryson? Right, he's looking at the
Right. What happens in
scoreboard.
a playoff?
Yeah, a lot of things can happen from there. So, um, I'm not gonna get into too much like the separation of Live, and I don't think that's they're one of their players won the major, but I think notably I did want to talk about folks that got cut. DJ
Yep.
+9, Phil Mickelson +15, Adrian Maronk. Well, let's come back to Adrian. Eugenio Chikara +8, and then Adrian Maronk +12. Man, that has been the biggest fall off for me, of anyone who's joined Live. Adrian's had a chance in all three majors this year and has missed the cut in all three of them. And it hadn't
Yeah.
even really been close, man. And we were talking about how good that man was at the end of last year. Hated that he got snubbed from the Ryder Cup. Clearly, that put that just
Affected him so badly. I mean, truly. I
right.
mean, seriously. That has
It
really turned it on his head. I mean, there's no way
I don't think
other
he's
way to put it.
no that there's a direct through line of what's happened to him since then. And to be honest, week in, week out, he's
Yeah.
not even really competing on the Live Golf Tour either. Um, but clearly, when he's had a chance to prove himself on the world's biggest stage, he has not been able to do that. Um,
Yeah.
it's just I don't know. It's disappointing because I think the guy is incredibly talented. It was fun seeing him pretty much play worldwide somewhere last year. He was week in,
Right.
week out. You could count
He was
on Adrian
grinding.
Moronk, yeah, to tee it up. And I don't know if that's also contributing to that, that he's a rhythm player, somebody who needs to get the reps in, swinging
True.
the club as often as possible. And we all know that there's nothing like going to a practice facility versus teeing it up on a real life course with competition.
Yeah.
So that one's the
Truly.
most disappointing. Yeah, other than that, there really wasn't much in terms of um, notable performances outside of that. Terrell hadn't had a pretty decent week as well, as it relates to Liv. But I just didn't think it was super tangible to go into um, kind of the whole list of their results.
Yeah. He had a pretty
Anything?
he had a
Go
pretty
ahead.
good quote. Tura had a pretty good quote. I mean, he said, getting in conditions like this lets you get in his head. We all know how much of a hothead and how mental he is. So I think that was a funny quote. Also, I mean, at some point, you really do need to get over that. But for the moment, it's still really funny. And hopefully, as he grows and still stays around the game of golf, he matures and stays away from that. But
Yeah.
I think also, not to harp on it again, but with the Rory choke job, let's just call it what it is.
Yeah.
This also has to do with like Tiger. We've watched him when in moments mattered the most, make the moments his, and we're just waiting on the next guy to do it. And everybody that we try to crown, fans, players, whoever it may be, they just don't always have it like Tiger always had it. So it's just,
Yeah.
you go back and you look at it and it's like the 54 hole lead stuff. Bro is like 96, 97%. Nobody else is over 50%. I mean, things like that,
Right.
stats like that. Now, I
Yeah.
mean, DeChambeau led the third round, came out and won, but Rory was up two with 5 holes to play.
Yeah.
That's pretty much a sold up deal if we're
If we're
talking
talking,
correctly.
if Tiger's there, so chat, help us out, chat. If you're in the chat right now, Rory choked or Bryson won. What do you think? What
Right.
is the chat's opinion on that? Curious to what y'all think. Um, I think you were leading into it, and I do want to segue kind of the course and players' feedback on the course, which I talked about early on. But
Yeah.
I want to point out kind of where Scotty Scheffler was asked about his opinion, and I think he essentially, I mean, Scotty always has the best answer available, but he just said, "Hey, we're given a fair shot to hit greens. The fairways are wide and generous." So I think early on in the week we had Wyndham Clark before the tournament even started saying that they were, um, pretty much like
Borderline.
borderline, yeah, borderline, and in terms of being able to hold the greens,
He's an
I
aggressive
don't
putter.
know.
That's on him.
This is true.
That's on
This
him.
is true.
Everybody else's pace was just fine.
Okay, Crystal, who's our attorney, she went with the diplomatic route. She said both. Mom, Rory
Mom knows
choked.
what's up.
Pressure is
Shoot.
no joke, as we said. So okay, back to the course. What? So you said Wyndham Clark, aggressive putter.
Right. When you're putting and you're 3 or 4 feet by, yeah, if the stimp is 13 on a little mound and it gets away from you, yeah, you're gonna be mad about that. I think that's pace
Yeah,
control. I think that's the moniker of a good putter, right? When you need to
yeah,
putt when you need to putt conservatively, you'll putt conservatively. When you know the greens are more receptive, then you can putt more aggressively. That's the mark of a good putter. You're not going to always be able to putt your way that way. You got to be able to adjust. You got to be able to take advantage of when greens are good for you and when they're not. And if you're playing conservatively to the middle of the greens, you're going to have a lot of 20, 30 footers. So your pace needs to be on. Unfortunately, that wasn't Wyndham this game. But I mean, I don't know. You went on Wells Fargo's greens. Those greens are lightning. They try to have that at
Yeah.
those at major championship speed because they're a major championship venue, or and they're gonna host like a President's Cup or something very soon as well because they just
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they have their I know they just hosted the President's Cup, but they're gonna host something again pretty soon. From what I remember, but again, I don't know. I feel like everything was gettable. If you hit it in the fairway, you just got to make putts and or know when you can be aggressive. That's why everybody birdie number 5, everybody birdie number 10. You got to take advantage of the 2 par 5s, length or not.
Yeah.
You can get a wedge up there close. Those greens were definitely receptive enough for that. They moved that number 13 up. So you should have had a birdie there, which the guys did. I mean, it's it, it's a U.S. Open. They want you to hold on for dear life. Like I don't know how else
Right.
to paint it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the course
You
was
are.
set
You're
up
not
how it's set up.
correct. They were doing very little watering throughout the week, just enough to keep the greens alive. You could see the
Exactly.
other parts of the course that started getting baked out from practice rounds to where we ended up. So definitely, I mean, it is challenging, and they're making it that way for a reason. They don't want people. So hell, the first putt that Rory, the first hole today that Rory made that 21-foot putt, that was not common this week. You were not
Right.
seeing a lot of people holing out, from, off the greens, chipping up. It was a slog, and it was designed
Yeah.
to be that way. If you go play this course in 2 weeks, it's going to play very differently. But they definitely are. We're pushing the boundaries of what is not acceptable, but what can still be competitive and a challenge, and then just kind of losing the course. You see those random videos of like Division 3 NCAA championships where they put a whole location in this random spot where it just keeps coming
Right.
back down to people's feet. They're trying to kind of play with the balance and stay away from that, which I'm sure a lot of testing goes into. Overnight. Hey, let's put this pole location here. Can we keep balls on the green in this spot? That type of deal.
I
So
will.
I
Yeah.
go ahead.
I will say since our course has hosted both Southern Texas PGA qualifiers, Houston Open qualifiers, things like that. The PGA Tour comes out ahead of time. They assess what they
Hmm.
can do and cannot do long before they actually set up that tournament course. They'll come out a month before, and not necessarily get with the superintendent. They have in the past at my course, but not necessarily every time. But they'll tell you how they want the greens to be rolling. They'll tell you how they want fairways to be cut. They'll tell you how they want hazards and OBs to be marked through for the event. And at our
Yeah.
Highlands course, the course that we play, we
Mm-hmm.
sparingly. We typically try to play the lakes, but when we get on the Highlands, that's our tournament course. Number 9 is OB, interior OB on the left hand side. That only is for number 9, not for 11 coming back the opposite way, only for number 9. That's something that is internal for our course and that they follow as well. So they have that set up. They add more stakes, they add more markers so that this is
Right.
OB, this is things like that. So they come out and let you know. So for them to be testing and stuff like that, they already knew where they were gonna go.
Of course, yeah, yeah. They
For
have their
sure.
ideas, and um, yeah, I'm sure they have a number of different options available. They were saying that the last time this course was played, that something about like short right pins weren't even in the game plan, which is something that we saw today several times.
Yeah, a lot.
So Yeah, and that's why I kind of knew. You just look at the shot shape of Bryson. He hits a draw primarily with his irons, with the driver. That anything that's kind of center to left is in his wheelhouse, and why he
Yeah,
was able to have a really good round on Saturday. But when you have more right hand pins, he's not going to be able to score as low with that draw because you don't know if you are able to take it out to the right and be able to draw it into a corner, especially if you're off the tee, not playing from the left hand side of the fairway.
facts.
There's it's kind of when they say there's, horses for courses, there's also horses for certain pin locations. So his score today was actually pretty predictable based on where they were putting some of these pins. And it just wouldn't, I don't know, I guess you have to mix it up enough. And that's why they play 4 days to give you a good mix of can you conquer this over a period of time? And when we give you different variations, be able to either hold it together for a day or, be able to take advantage of it and what's catered to your game. So I thought it was a fair championship overall. Um, I really did.
Definitely.
Let's get into the media presentation side of things. So, as a major, right, we've seen the complaints about high commercial breaks, a lack of coverage. We'll give to USA for having coverage starting early every day. You were able to
Yeah,
just turn on your TV and see the
find
rounds.
it
If
somewhere.
you
Yeah,
Exactly. If you have YouTube TV, if you've moved over to that, which we have, the multi view is available. No, they didn't have all the cameras going because they had certain holes featured, and etc. From the beginning of the day, but they had some coverage. You were able to see the dew sweepers today, and that is a credit to them. You talked about kind of who was in the booth this week already, so we won't rehash that part of it, but I think USA did a good job of coverage this week. I know people hate the cutouts and the dual screen with the commercial and then players on the left hand side. It's a necessary evil. Bills have to be paid. Stuff is not free. But
right.
what do you think of the coverage? Again, I know you gave kudos to the broadcast team already.
Yeah, same sentiments though, for real. I mean, sometimes you just want something on in the background, for real. Like, I don't necessarily need noise. I could have it on mute. So the playing through thing,
Yeah.
that never really pissed me off. That never really affected me. I'm always for playing through. I mean, if you just need to give them their sponsorship dollars, by all means do that. If Callaway needs that Chrome Tour spot, put them there. I don't care. I don't care.
Right.
Because I'm gonna watch Patrick Cantley, hover over his ball for 15 seconds anyways, and then by the time the commercial's done, there will be sound back, and we'll be able to hear him hit. So
Yeah.
because he definitely likes to take his time. You know what? I don't know if Rory probably wasn't tilted from that too, from how Patrick Cantley plays. It seemed like he was speeding
Yeah.
up, or it seemed like the camera was cutting to him
They
after he's done his routine,
they
and it
mentioned it a
was.
couple times and said that
Mm-hmm.
it might be good for Rory to slow down, on a day
No.
like this. I agree. I'm a rhythm player too. I want to keep going. So when you play with somebody that's a little more deliberate,
Yeah.
it's
And then,
tough.
yeah, Rory kept taking extra looks. He's usually 3 or 4 looks, and then he'll pull the trigger. I mean, it was 5, 6, 7. I mean, it was Harmon range. You put the counter out on him. But I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, as far as the coverage goes, it was great. It was amazing. And then on the weekends, we had what 12-7, and then 12-6 on NBC main TV. You
Yeah.
can't complain. There's things that can be cried about on the daily as far as live sports goes. This was not the week for it. We got everything pretty
Hmm.
much that we wanted. I think this was one of the better covered weeks. And like I said, I just felt like sometimes it was too oversaturated. It was funny because, like, we're in our slower season with it being a little bit more heated. So we honestly,
Yeah.
we come in sometimes and it'd be like three other people behind the pro shop desk and it'd be like, why is there this many people here? It was the kind of the same thing. Like you just kind of whisper like, why is there so why is what's up? Why is
It's
there
so it's yeah. Summer has hit Texas officially. Hell, the fact that um this weekend, so I played Thursday, Friday, and Friday. Thursday was like the afternoon, but Friday you're able to get tee times. I think we got four in a row. Saturday morning,
yeah.
8:30, able to get tee times, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
getting to that point. So yeah, it is kind of weird. People are staying away from that heat. You're either playing super early or super late
Or
in the afternoon.
super late. Yep. It's just
So
dead in the middle. And then like between like two when our price breaks happen, and then like 4 o'clock that super twilight. Yeah, they're rushing out. Can I walk on? Y'all got anything available? Man, come on, bro. I guess.
um,
Come on now.
continuing on the media side, I'm not even really going to talk. I'm not going to touch on this DeChambeau agent thing. That's something totally different. But um, Brooks Koepka, because he is no longer a member of the PGA Tour, which they don't really have designated media obligations. I think they all understand
Oh,
that
right.
the more that you get out in front of cameras and people know who you are, the better for you financially, right? It brings opportunities in. It shows advertisers, people who want to be your sponsors, that you're hospitable, that you're somebody that can make commercials and, be
Yeah,
out there in front of a camera and sell their product, right? It's another opportunity for product placement. Brooks
yeah,
Koepka opted out of media obligations, or really, I shouldn't say obligations, media just opportunities this week. Stayed away, canceled interviews. The only really press interaction that he had was with Eamon Leach, who pretty much executed like a text interview with him. And
mm,
it was even then still pretty smarmy and back and forth. Brooks really pointing to the fact that he's like, these questions are boring. I'm going to get some live questions. I'm going to get questions about the conditions of the course. My mindset heading into the tournament, which I agree to a certain degree, some to a certain point that some of that stuff is overblown, and there's a lack of creativity, and there's
very
probably
redundant.
more there's more media that covers golf than there are really people who are willing to jump outside of the box in terms of their
Yeah,
thought process around it. And maybe they don't want to get spicy because it's all also access journalism. They don't want to ask somebody a direct question about, hey, Rory, I know you and Patrick Cantlay don't like each other. Is there still beef? Stuff like that you're just not going to see. I'm a fan of mess, but we don't see that kind of question um, from the media, and so I kind of got with that. What do you
yeah.
think about Brooks opting out? Hold on, pause. That question still stands. Got a newcomer. Welcome in, DJ Wilson. Got a Rory choked. We agree. We agree.
So yeah, as far as Brooks goes though, it I don't know, man. I feel like it's bittersweet because I get it. Like the questions are definitely redundant, but go up there and if anything, just be a smartass like you always are. Answer what you think they're gonna want to know. I think the course conditions are fine. I think it's playable. You're just gonna it's gonna be a mental test. All 4 days, people are gonna be battling to make the cut, whether they be live or PGA. Couple of the PGA guys have talked with me. We're cool. Couple of the live guys, we're still on the outward ends. Boom. Then you get into your mental standpoint. Boom, 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 boom. Run through that. Give us a 10, 15-minute presser, and then go on about your business. But at the same accord, these guys are asking you the same question because they know you're gonna give a spicy answer about the same questions.
Yeah.
Or they know you don't have anything else to offer. If you were more Brooks's marketability is in him being a hard ass and a winner when it matters most.
Yeah.
That 2017, 2018 run, 4 majors in 2 years, crazy stuff. But what do you have past that, Brooks? You gotta,
Well,
you gotta.
don't poo poo him. He had PGA Championship just last year.
Right,
just
I
last
know.
year.
Right. But again, what is it past that that the media can even branch out and ask you about? Because I know that, like, for instance, the winner, Bryson. If I'm not talking golf, I can talk, hey, yo, what's going on? What are you putting on your YouTube channel next? If I want to go outside the box. Or with Bryson, asking him about club tech. I know I can ask him questions like that. Brooks, on the other hand, yo, I'm playing these Strixon, these Mark Fives. You know, you can just get them off the rack, get them specced out how you want it. I'm not playing anything crazy. I got a Scotty Tour, bro. Bryson can run down the list of how he's got these 3D printed clubs, the names of the clubs, the lofts that are different, and people are gonna gawk at that stuff because it's out of the norm and it's things we don't normally talk about. That's why I feel
Yeah,
like Phil was such a good interview. Phil would talk
right.
about anything, you know, just things like that. So I get it,
Mindset,
but I
swing
don't.
path. Yeah.
Right,
I think with Brooks, he's such a bro, and he's never been shy about saying that he doesn't love golf. He's
right.
very good at golf, but he's more of a baseball guy. That's his
Yeah,
first love. Golf is just something that he was better at talent wise. So I think again he sees this as a means to an end. Enjoys the competitive side of things. I think there are a ton of questions out there to ask Brooks that are outside of the normal, um, day to day questions that we see. And it may be more in tune with how he mentally goes into a major versus a week to week, right? So educate yourself as a reporter on his live results. Okay, dude, you haven't had any top fives in live this week. What is your mindset? Like, how did you get yourself up, last year in the PGA Championship to
right.
go win that tournament? Week to week, now that we're three majors in, what's different coming into this versus just getting ready to go whatever y'all's next tournament is. So I think there's a lot of avenues. I do also think it's a missed opportunity for him as well to be
Yeah,
able to not sell himself per se, because Brooks is fine. I'm sure he is. But again, just understand that more opportunities come your way as a result of being accessible. But he's also not exactly the most people friendly person. He's never even come across as that. I don't think he cares one way or another, which is also I think other players respect him. He's not a people pleaser by any means. So just an interesting thing. We just haven't seen a star completely duck the media where we get no coverage at all. It's very
yeah.
interesting that during the Masters he was up there talking. So I wonder what changed in between there. Any other things that you want to touch on U.S. Open before we kind of pivot over to the ladies?
Mm, no, I mean, I don't know. I really like the course. I I really thought that shit was just you go out and you hoop. If you make mistakes, it's
Yeah.
gonna penalize you. Like I think this is like just another reason why we don't need to talk why we need to bring this shit up against the ball rollback. Bro, set the course up the right way. Set the course up to where you really have skill involved, shot shaping involved. What are we talking about, bro? Like, now don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
you know, US Open is gonna be fucking 78 yards, 7,800 yards and stuff like that, but PGA
But that was
Tour is
just
not
a
gonna
few
normally.
long. No, that was just a few long par fours. The par
Right.
fives were the two were gettable. Um,
Exactly.
I don't
I
know,
agree.
man. I like us. The
That's what I'm
there was
saying.
no rough, right? We're just talking about native areas, fairway, and then native areas. That's it, and then some rugged bunkering. And I think it was fun to see people playing where they could ground their club, you know, in the fairway or
Yeah.
just off the fairway versus playing like traditional bunkers closer to the holes. I don't know. I just thought it was a really fun mix, and we've said that the ball rollback is so dumb, and that there's so many ways that you can um set up these courses to accomplish what you want to accomplish. And I'm pretty sure from a maintenance standpoint, this is a cheaper, it looks aesthetically better to me, but
Right.
better than having to maintain a parkland type course, which this course was set up as not too long ago, where it was traditional rough and long grass, which also is effective. But this was a creative way because when you're playing behind that wiry crap right off the fairway, you don't know where your ball's going to go. Can you even get
Right.
to the back of the ball? I thought it was super cool, and I can't wait till they go back there again.
Agreed.
So, anyway, so swinging over to the LPGA, they had let me get it right, the Meyer LPGA Classic, and that one was played in Michigan. So
Michigan.
we saw the return of Lilia Vu to playing. We've said, she's dealt with back issues. She's missed the first two majors of the year for the ladies. So here she is returning with them having their PGA Championship next week.
Yeah.
So a couple stories that came out from that. We saw her returning, and we also saw Lexi Thompson competing at the top of the leaderboard this week, and she pointed to kind of the pressure being let off because of her announcement of her retirement, or at least of a full time schedule. That's really all we know
Yeah.
right now, is that she's not going to play as much as she always has. And, a couple weeks ago when we talked about this, my thought was I feel like some of this was self inflicted on her part and not really being able to know herself and to say, hey, I need to take some time away from the game and not
Right.
necessarily tee it up every single week. So we're seeing the direct relation to that now where she's like, oh, there's little pressure on me now that I'm gonna retire. Yes, I still have some goals to achieve, but it's like, okay, now that you know that, can you you know, lighten up your schedule as I don't know. It just seems that this could have been preventable.
Essentially, she
I
should
don't
have
know.
set boundaries earlier on.
Correct. It's not really
Well,
complicated to me. It's just like, dude, you
agreed.
were putting the pressure on yourself. No one else is doing that for you. But neither here nor there. So she was able to get into a playoff today with Lilia Vu and Grace Kim, with Lilia Vu ending up pulling the win out in her first tournament back in weeks. We saw her pull out right before the first major of the LPGA season, which at this point was about a month and a half ago, and we haven't seen her since. So strong return from her. Hopefully, I didn't get to watch much coverage just because it was competing with the U.S. Open, but this definitely bodes well for her going into next week. Random question: do you think it's tough to win one week and then go into a major with a legitimate shot to win the next week?
Yes. Yes.
Would you rather
The
just come in second or something?
I'd rather. I don't know. I'd rather. Yeah. I don't know. Second would have me pissed. Honestly, I don't know. I might be out of it. Maybe like a top 10, something like that. Like, oh, I showed instances. I showed glimpses. It like I
Yeah.
had a hot round, and like I know I can continue this. But yeah, I mean, she comes right back. She comes back healthy, wins immediately. So we might be
Yeah, and
we might have been on to something like we were talking about.
we with the getting in shape.
Yeah, I mean, as long as she's healthy, she's got a chance at winning. She could have a
This
prolific
is true.
year still.
Yeah. But I
Still.
don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I'd be willing to turn down first over see T8 in this tournament won 64,000 for the win. She got 450K.
For
So I don't know if I'd
yeah.
be willing to turn down 390K um just for the sake of not winning, but we'll see. I'm a huge
Um
fan of Nelly Corder. What is happening with her? So, good call out, Crystal. I think that's a good segue. So, anyway, shout out to Lily Avu, but it is a good segue. And I think in our show notes, did I get it in here? I did, and really, to be honest, just kind of behind the scenes, I put golf is hard. Nelly has missed two cuts in a row. Um, Not exactly the momentum that you want going into a major, but I think that's the thing about golf, and we all know this. It doesn't matter whether you're a professional or you're one of us sitting behind this, you're behind your keyboard or us sitting up here. Literally, I will come home from a round and I'll tell my wife, like, I got it. I found something on the back
I got
nine.
it figured out. Hmm.
Figure it out. And you get a guy, get hot. You have an amazing nine, or even let's say you figured out a few holes into your round, and you're like, cool. After like five, I got my stuff together, and you feel like, okay, I'm taking that to the course the next time, and it doesn't happen. And you're like, this
Right.
was the swing key last time. Why is that no longer working? It's golf is so hard. And me and my boy JP, dude that I usually ride with when I play in our little league, we're like, there's so many moving parts to the body in golf that if one thing is off, and it's usually just one small slight thing where your alignment is off, or your weight is transfer is not going as well, your back's a little bit tight. It doesn't feel like you're really hurting, but it inhibits you from turning the way that you may be when you're striping it and making contact and able to command the ball. Golf is just hard, and the run that she was on, it's just really not sustainable. We saw that with Scotty Scheffler this week as well, right? He went in
Yeah.
as the heavy favorite, and right out the gate, round one, you could tell something was off in Scotty. And I think that's the same thing with Nelly. Do I think that Nelly is gonna continue her season like this? No. I think we see a lot more of what we've seen up to this point in the season than what we've just seen these last two starts. What do you think about the Nelly struggles as of late?
Yeah. I mean, I just wouldn't even. It's just not even like you look for her name on the leaderboard. You see, to me, I looked for her name on the leaderboard after the results came out. Saw that she got cut, moved on. It's okay, it's fine. Like, but that's
Yeah.
because, like, I mean, as a fan of Nelly and a fan of golf, you just feel like that's just a blip on the screen. If you look at the larger sample size of everything, it's just something that you really can't worry about. And again, she probably just not even locked in. After going for that long of a win streak, that's a lot
Yeah.
of pressure. Then you, the major is the last one. Yo, really? My season is already good. I'm not really stressing much until I
I
get
know
back into that next major. You know what I'm saying?
we're humans, right? And it's hard.
Right.
I'll be honest. It's just hard to go continuously on that pace, right? To
Right.
be that to the amount of energy that it takes to win on that level, right? I think you saw it today with Bryson, and he's kind of the exception, but the amount of intensity that's spilled out of him, hole to hole, when you finally pay it off,
That's a lot of
it's like,
energy,
oh,
dog.
I've reached the mountaintop. Now, can I rest? And just to have to keep going on that pace, that's tough for any human. So I don't fault her at all for, hey, I'm gonna show up. I'm gonna, meet my sponsor's obligations. But
Right.
you know,
Like
I
if she
really do.
were, go ahead.
I was gonna say I really expect a pretty strong performance out of her this week. She's gonna
Yeah.
go back to the lab. She had a couple extra days. Maybe you go home, you rest on Saturday, you get back to it on Sunday afternoon. Start getting your PGA championship prep ready to go. You start putting in the work. It probably is a blessing that she had that extra day to rest versus sticking around to Sunday, kind of a ho hum finish. You fly
Travel
directly into
day.
the site. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this gives her a couple extra days to rest up, get the game in tune, we know she's a prolific recorder of her swing. So she's probably been in the lab trying to figure out, like, hey, send me some footage of where I've been screwing up over the last couple of rounds, and then comparing it up to where she was on a straight heater and
Yeah,
trying to fix, whatever it is. I guarantee it's something super small, but yeah.
I think it just wouldn't even surprise me if had we seen Nelly Corda like just pop up on her IG talking about beach day and then was just right on to the next day. Sometimes it be like that. But
Yeah.
I just wanted to say also kudos to LPGA again on Instagram. Speaking of, because buddy, that's the only way I was keeping up with that damn playoff that they had. They were posting the whole playoff highlights on the IG as they happened because the TV wasn't leaving the U.S. Open. So shout out to
Right.
them for knowing their crowd and knowing what was up and knowing that phone was going to be in my hand anyways. And that's how I found out Lilia Vu won. Seriously. Now,
Yeah.
I know we'll be able to catch the round. I know it'll be on Golf Channel on like Monday replay, Tuesday replay, or whatever. But seriously, again, that is what we were asking for. Be more present on social media so we know what's happening. I mean, Bleacher Report, NBA, they are always posting stuff about the NBA finals. I mean, every three
Yeah.
seconds, I feel like they got a new
It,
post up.
we ain't had a game in 3 days, but they still got stuff going on. I
You know
know.
what I'm saying?
And yeah,
For
LP.
Dallas, Boston, everybody.
Yeah. Shout out to whoever's managing the social media, whether it's an individual or a team, but they get it. They finally
Definitely.
just figured that piece of it out, capitalizing off of one, the rising popularity of women's sports. WNBA is super hot right now. They're definitely getting a lot of the clicks and views. LPGA, I think they have an opportunity or a lane with this PGA and Live split to kind of gain some market share. Do
Definitely.
it. You got to get out there on socials. That's where it's happening. All it takes is some consistency, a repost from one of these big golf accounts, PGA memes, Zyre Golf, whatever, and you got fans interested in it. And to be honest, they were very persistent. Again, I mentioned earlier in the show, we do YouTube TV, and so I was getting alerts every day of this week that, hey, live on whatever channel it was playing, the LPGA Meyer Classic is live. So again, they're getting in the algorithm. They're
Yep.
starting to get people like committed to viewing it. So, yeah, shout out to them. They just got to continue the consistency on that piece. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. So, yeah, the LPGA, I'm looking again, we're getting spoiled right now. Middle of the summer, a lot of major golf coming back to back. I think we had some senior major a couple weeks ago, US Open. Again, we're going to look up. We have the Travelers this coming week with the PGA Tour, another elevated event. So we're going to have some decent names out there. They've been really keeping that going. And then, competing against the Women's PGA Championship. We're spoiled. If it's too hot to get out where you're at, I think Northeast, they're probably still in the 70s or 80s. Blessings to y'all for getting to play golf right now. We're struggling down
Oh
here in the
yeah.
South. But yeah, the golf is coming hot and heavy, and like I said, we'll be at the Open Championship for the men in July. So it's all coming. What else you got in the golf world, man? It was all U.S. Open today.
Um, on a personal note, Rod, I did some tinkering. Got the driving
Okay.
iron in the bag. Got the driving iron in the bag. We got that graphite even flow shaft going. Mm,
Okay.
got us a
We have to
summer
see what
worker right here.
we have to see what the results look like. I'm struggling with my game right now. I shouldn't even say struggling.
Rod will be
I'm just kind
seeing
of
it
stuck.
personally.
This is true. Me and Marcus will be hooking up in July around my birthday, July 4th holiday. Lots of
We're gonna
golf
try to
will
get
be
y'all some
played.
footage for sure. If we remember, if we're in a good
Or
spot, we're gonna
or
try to get some footage.
or go
Maybe even
live,
a
do some
live
BS.
stream. Yeah, little live
Yeah,
match
but
going on.
it's kind of hot, and phones overheating and cameras overheating in summer Some are at Texas, so
real
we'll see
quick.
how that goes. Do you think the last thing, and we'll hop off because we've already gone over an hour. Did the Mavs get the win tomorrow? Does the
Thank
series
you,
keep going?
Rod. Thank you, because you didn't do anything extreme. You didn't ask anything dramatic. You said, "Are they gonna win the next game?" I do believe that they can spoil and win the next game, but I also don't want to see them lose and have Boston celebrate in Dallas. So then you just keep going, and then it's like we done made it all the way to Game 7.
You got to
Then
go. You one game at a time, right? I'll look at
one
it
game
like
at a time.
if they can get a win on Monday, you come back to
What's their
Dallas.
mental? What's their
You're
mental?
on your home. The mental needs to be play
Oh,
defense. Play
right.
defense. If
No,
y'all play
no,
defense, what's
agreed. What's
Boston's mental?
Boston? Yeah, if they
Boston's got
lose
scar
again,
tissue. Boston has scar tissue.
if they
So
lose in Boston Monday, boy,
the pressure's back on. And it's not saying that, I mean, the pressure's clearly on Dallas because it's win or go home.
right? You
But
can't lose.
if they swing it back to Dallas, 3-2, it's an opportunity. That's all it is. It's
Right.
an opportunity to change the momentum. But the key is Dallas has to play defense. Luka has to play defense. That
Yep.
Ole defense that he's been playing.
He got to take ownership, buddy. He got to take
Bobby is
ownership.
Bobby is out of pocket for this one. He said Luka was a crybaby. Bad look on his face.
Nah, you ain't lying. He definitely
Bobby,
was a crybaby. He was a drama train.
and it's funny because in Dallas we joke about Luka has been claimed by the brothers in Dallas, so he's invited to the cookout because he hoops just so effortlessly, but that's hilarious.
Hashtag led
I
better
guess
Luca.
that's right. Ledbetter Luca, if you don't know. Shout out to Dallas, y'all. Um, I think we've become so accustomed to the bitching. I've actually seen, I know the national side is like just now catching it and it still looks bad, but he's gotten better. For those of longtime Luca watchers,
Right.
I've seen him actually turn around and just run back down the court versus in the past, he just
Truly.
like would not let it go. So he's gotten
His
better.
best game, yeah, his best game was in OKC. It was OKC game 5 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't say not one word to the ref. 35 point masterclass, blew out OKC, really just from the jump, had it all together. That's what I want to see more of.
All
That's what
right,
I want to see more of. Anyways,
bet. We'll see. Let's wait and see. All right, y'all. Back at it again for another week. You know how we do. Bearder Bros
yeah.
Golf Show. I'm Rod.
And I'm Marcus.
Peace, y'all.